Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are cooking another vintage crockpot recipe. Alright, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire. Welcome. Come on in and make yourselves comfortable. I love a vintage recipe. I have tons of really fun vintage recipe videos here on the channel. There's a whole playlist, so if you're in the mood for a binge and you want to see some stuff from lots of different decades and eras gone by, I will leave it in the description for your viewing pleasure. Today we're going back to 1975. I scored this Rival Crock Pot Cooking book at, I want to say, a thrift store. I did not pay very much for it, and I've done quite a few recipes out of it. And sometimes they're really delicious, and you know what? I was in the mood for a casserole today, and you know, I'm a good Midwest girl, I'm not gonna lie. Even if it's a funky old school casserole, I usually kind of like it. If there's cheese, if there's some sort of creamy soup, condensed soup situation, I'm probably in. So if you have this book, today we are cooking from page number 136. We are making Louise's broccoli casserole. I love that it has someone's name in it because it makes it feel a little more personal. Louise, don't let me down. And to make this even more fun and authentic, a few years ago, I did thrift an actual vintage crock pot. This would have been the crock pot that was out at the time of this book. It still works. I always get people like a little skeptical of me using the old crock pot. Like, don't worry, there's no cracks in it. The lead isn't leaking into my food. I also only use this crock pot when I do vintage recipes. I'm not like using it all the time, right? But we love a bit of authenticity, okay? So we are using the real crock pot here. And with that, let's get going on Louise's broccoli casserole from 1975. All right, the ingredients for this casserole are very simple and definitely still easy to find nowadays. We have some frozen broccoli florets. Actually, the recipe technically calls for frozen broccoli spears that you then have to cut up. But nowadays, they make them already cut up, so love that. We also have some saltines. We have some cream of celery soup. We have sharp cheddar cheese and green onions. And that's it. That's all the ingredients. What is great about cooking from the 70s cookbooks is that a lot of the proportions in these sort of like pre-made cans and whatnot are the same. So this calls for a 10.5 ounce can of condensed cream of celery soup. That is the standard size that they are still making today. Sometimes when we get back into like the 40s and 50s, sometimes the cans and things are a little bit of a different size. We did run into that a little bit with the broccoli. It does say 2 10-ounce bags. These are 12-ounce bags. So we are going to put one and mostly another. We need 1 1/4 cups of cheddar, but we're gonna split it into 1 cup and 1/4 cup because we're gonna use them separately. And I know I could have bought pre-shredded cheese, but if I am melting it, I prefer to shred it myself just because then you don't have that like extra layer of cellulose. It's gonna melt better if you shred it, but I don't think it matters that much. So if it's much cheaper, for me, the only time I'll use shredded, like pre-shredded cheese, is if it's like wildly cheaper, because if you know me, if you watch me, you know I can't resist a really good deal. So if the shredded stuff is already on sale, then I will go for it, but I prefer to shred my own generally. All right, there's our 1 1/4 cups of shredded cheese. We're just gonna put that to the side. Moving on to our green onions, we are going to need 1/4 cup of chopped green onions. Honestly, I love green onions. I should grow them next year, guys. If you've ever grown green onions, is it easy? Tell me all your things. There we go. And I still have loads of these to use. All right, time to assemble. The directions do say to do this in a separate bowl, not in your slow cooker. Okay, I eyeballed it. We're also gonna add the entire can of our soup. Now we're going to put 1 cup of the cheddar cheese in. Remember, we're saving the other 1/4 cup for later. It's kind of stuck together. Disperse it a bit. I mean, honestly, all these things are things I like, so I have really high hopes for this. We're also gonna throw our little onions in there. And now we're gonna mix it up. All right, now we have to discuss the seasoning portion because I feel like any old recipe, we have to talk about seasonings because that is one of the major differences that I've noticed between like modern cookbooks and modern recipes and things that people are creating now versus some of these more old school things is the huge lack of seasonings. I will say I have pretty high hopes for this one because we do have that green onion in there, which is gonna give us some flavor. We've not added any salt. However, a cream of anything soup is going to be quite high in sodium, so I'm not that worried about salt either. I think if this were like a modern interpretation, you would very likely find garlic powder, you would maybe find some smoked paprika, you might find some like freshly crushed black pepper, something like that, and if that's your vibe, you can totally add it. I think that this is still going to be really good even though it doesn't have like a hugely like complex flavor profile. I think that's okay. So we'll take it for what it is. And if you're making this yourself, you can absolutely add some more other flavors if you want to. Next, we are going to lightly grease the crock pot, which is why I think we did not mix all of our ingredients in the crock pot because we want it to be non-stick. Now I'm gonna pour the mixture in. It is really hard filming this at an angle that you can see it. I wish you could see how funky my body looks right now, trying to have my hands not be in the way. Anyway, perfect. All right, before we cook this, we have to add our saltines and our extra cheese because it's not a casserole if it doesn't have something funky and crunchy on top, right? The recipe says you could use potato chips or saltines. Generally I'm more of a saltines girl and I don't even have potato chips in the house. I'm not gonna lie. We might, but they're not plain, so it wouldn't work. So we're using saltines. We need 1 cup of crushed saltine crackers. Okay, maybe a messy method, but like, whatever, it's fine. All right, we are going to be adding the crackers first, right here on top. I don't know how this would change if this was like a more shallow crock pot, like some of the ones that are like shorter and wider. I'm not sure how well that would work, but this seems perfect to cover my little one. And then we're going to put the rest of our cheese right on top. And now she's ready to cook. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the temperature up to the high function. Now the recipe says that you can cook this on low for 5 to 6 hours or on high for 2.5 to 3 hours. I'm hungry, guys. I want to eat this as soon as possible, so I'm cooking it on high. Also, it's kind of like the afternoon time and I want this to get done right around dinner time. I know my children won't eat it, but I'm totally gonna eat this and I think my husband will like it too. So I'll see you in approximately 2.5 hours and we will try our casserole. All right, you guys, it has been 2.5 hours. My entire kitchen smells like broccoli. And I'm pretty excited to give it a try though. Like, not that broccoli is a bad smell, but you know, it's a little farty in here, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe we should have done it on low. It's a little crispy on top. All right, so anywhere that the cheese was kind of close to the edge, it did get a little crisp. But that's okay. That's okay. We like a crispy cheese moment, right? And I'm sure the inside isn't going to be like that, so I guess it's time to plate this on up. Oh wow, it is so creamy and cheesy in there. I'm kind of into this. It does seem to be a little liquidy at the very bottom. But that's okay. All right, you guys, moment of truth. It's totally good. It tastes exactly like I imagined it would. I think using the frozen florets is a good idea because they stay like quite crisp almost. That's not like overcooked. And I think like the amount of time that it takes for it to like thaw and then cook in the crock pot is like perfect timing. So I'm not sure how this would work if you used fresh broccoli, but I think frozen, it makes perfect sense here. It is actually not super salty. And honestly, it's not like overly creamy. Like, it is quite vegetable-y. And I know a lot of times, like, you're eating broccoli because you want to be healthy, right? But if the only way you eat broccoli is if it's covered in cheese, the broccoli is still healthy. It's still broccoli. It still has value. It still has fiber. It still has nutrition. So if you need to cover your broccoli in creamy, cheesy goodness in order to eat the broccoli, then you gotta do what you gotta do. I am surprised that the crackers stayed crackery. They didn't get soggy in there, and I really thought that's what would happen. But it is like traditional casserole with that little crunch on top. Overall, like I said before, the flavor is not super complex, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. And I like this one, I'm not gonna lie, you guys. But of course, I know you're all waiting to see how my husband feels about it. So let's bring him in here to give Louise's broccoli casserole a try. Here you go. Time for the taste test.
Oh, this one is really good.
It is good, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a success. Oh, wow.
Like, the broccoli is not soggy at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's crisp.
I like this.
Did we get a 1970s casserole win? Do you think it's lacking in seasoning? What's your vibe on the...
No. I think this one is actually really good. No notes.
No notes? None at all? Sorry, guys. I know you like it when Gianni is horrified by what we make, but...
This is...
We gotta give him a little good one once in a while, you know?
I like the chives.
They're not chives, they're green onions.
Ooh, yeah.
But they're good. Yeah, the green onion was a good move here. And it's interesting because I think like a lot of these, like especially in this book, feel under-seasoned. But if we just added green onions to like most of the things in that book, it would be pretty good.
It would be an improvement.
How do you feel about the crackers on top?
Oh, it's really delicious. I would not be mad if I found this at a potluck.
Like but in a Midwest way, right?
Yeah.
Very Midwest vibes. Or even like as a Thanksgiving side.
Yes.
That sort of thing. Which we love in a slow cooker because then you're not using the oven for other stuff. It's like Easter or like you're cooking a bunch of stuff. Are you eating it directly out of the crock pot? You guys, he is not lying. He loves this one. Alright, you guys, that's it for this recipe. Thanks a lot, Louise. You did good. This was a winner. So I'm glad I got to share it with you. Leave me a comment down below. Have you ever made something like this? Are you a broccoli casserole kind of person? And if you are you from the Midwest? I gotta know, is this something that screams 70s or is this something that screams Midwest area? Or both. So yeah, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought. Of course, come on back for more content like this. I love a vintage recipe, so this is far from the end of me doing these. So if you like it, make sure you subscribe. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!